My name's Sharon Ellis. I'm a practitioner at a school in Oldham. This evening, I'm really aware that you've done a full day at the chalk face and the school life is really, really busy. So I'm going to do my absolute best to keep to the time so that we finish at 5 o'clock. If I'm talking a little bit quickly, I do apologise, but there will be an opportunity, thank you very much, at the end to ask some questions if you want to. Now, the name Making Your Mark might insinuate that it's about mark making and it's those practical skills. It's a step beyond that. Making Your Mark, I designed when my school needed something to assist us in our children gaining their early learning goal in reading and writing. The writing early learning goal is a big ask. We'd tried certain things, but what we needed was for our children to be reading and writing every day and reading and writing things that were phonetically plausible, because the ultimate aim is that our children are able to write a phonetically plausible phrase or sentence that can be read by somebody else. That is the goal in a nutshell, isn't it? So there was things out there, but they were too complex and they were expecting the children to have skills that they didn't already have. So just as a quick refresher, I know you know, but what the early learning goal is in reading, that they need to be able to read the 26 letters of the alphabet, send a sound for each one, and at least 10 digraphs. Making Your Mark assists in the consolidation of that. The reading words that they can sound, talk, and blend, and that they can read simple sentences that are consistent with their phonic knowledge. Making Your Mark only uses books. The books that we've made are all phonetically plausible and only contain the high frequency, the tricky words, whichever terminology you use, that are within their phonics phase. There's no other vocabulary used there. So everything they're exposed to, they will have seen already in their first teach of the phonics early learning goal in writing. It's to write recognisable letters which are formed correctly, to spell words using those letters, hoping that it can all be read by others, and where possible, they're using a capital letter and a full stop, but that's not in the goal, but it is in the development matters. Making Your Mark supports all of that. It's so important. If we can get those skills established in reception, moving forward into year one is so much easier for our children. So, a quick introduction to Making Your Mark. Making Your Mark, at the moment, it's split into two phases. It's split into phase 2 and phase 3. In phase 2, there's 24 books, and the 24 books use only the phonics that children are exposed to in phase 2. The phonemes and the digraphs, and then they're exposed to the tricky words. The idea is that the children, and the ultimate aim of it is that the children read the books, digest the sentence, hold the sentence and write it. The books are the stimulus to encourage the children to write independently. That's what we're aiming for them to write independently, phonetically plausible sentences that can be read by others. Full circle, back to the goal. It promotes the transfer of skills that they gain in that quality first teach. We sit with our children and we expose them to phonics in phonics groups and in sessions. It's then how they transfer those skills that they gain there into their own writing. We can do lots of it in CP, but it is very hard to sometimes get those boys that don't want to write, because that's a whole, but we could go off on a tangent there. That's a whole different ball game, isn't it? But it's enabling you as a practitioner to see what skills children have got and how you move forward. Thank you. I'm glad you think that's so true. It encourages children to have daily practice. The Making Your Mark sessions are about 20 minutes, 25 minutes to start with. But as the children are exposed to it and get, for want of a better phrase, get better at it, gain the skills that they need, that time frame reduces. We want it to be snappy, fast, daily practice with pace. The books are designed deliberately to offer the children an illustration, but a very cut back illustration. There's some beautiful books out there, stunning illustrations, but as a young reader, where do you look? What are you looking at? Some of it is complete information overload. I think as practitioners, we've got much better at looking at our environments and reducing what we have as sensory stimulus around us. But then we get a beautifully illustrated book and ask the children to read the writing at the bottom when there's all sorts of things going on. Whereas in Make Your Mark, there is a very simple one picture per page illustration. Because right from the very, very beginning, from the outset, it is about establishing that writing. The drawing's nice, and my children have the books where it's blank at the top, lines at the bottom. They write a couple of sentences once we've got into it. They draw the illustration, we move on. It's not a drawing game. It's about the writing. So we're hoping that it enables us to promote independence from the outset, but it also, for us as practitioners, gives us an opportunity to see which children need a little bit of extra help, need more time, which children are gaining pace. We know that children who have acquired the goal in reading and writing move into Key Stage 1 with an advantage. We know that for them, the phonics screen is going to be easier because they will have established a good base of phonics. Their phonics base will be brilliant moving forward because Year 1 is very much about the phonics screen. This helps them no end. So moving on to the next slide. So who is the scheme aimed for? The scheme's aimed for, ideally, reception children. But for some children, that isn't always possible. You can't put a square peg in a round hole. And for some children, they're not quite there. So moving forward into Year 1, if they've not gained the goal, then using the Make Your Mark book, because it's tailored, it's concise, it doesn't require a whole afternoon every day. It's a 20 minutes intervention maybe for Year 1 children. It will help them meet the goal. We have increasing numbers of children certainly within Oldham, who have additional needs. Making Your Mark supports that. Because all of the information is downloadable and all of the books are downloadable, once you've downloaded it and printed it off, you can then tailor make the books to suit your children. You can reduce the number of pages in a book. You can enlarge them, so from going from A5 size to A4 size. They're your books. You tailor make those books to suit your children's needs. They're also ideal for children who are new to the UK, whose English is improving, but they need that little bit of extra help. But they're also brilliant for those children whom I think we've all had. They're really getting there with the writing, they're doing really well, but they look at you as the practitioner when they say every letter, and they're waiting for you to say, super duper, brilliant, good job, write it down. Right, what's your next letter? Yeah, brilliant, write it down. The idea behind it is to give them a really short, intensive confidence boost, so that after a few weeks they can go, yay, I can do this myself. It's not as bad as I thought. I can do it. And sometimes that's all a child needs. And then moving forward, once you feel good at something, and once you've had that, woo, yay, that moving forward for those children, it's not as scary. They're not as frightened then to commit when writing for their SATs papers in Year 2 and in Year 6. So it can be used in a multitude of ways. And once you've downloaded it, you can do what you want with it, really, how best it suits your children. So a little bit about where we start. The phase 2 books, as I say, there's 24 of them, but they only use phase 2 phonemes. Every book that a child reads that's Making Your Mark book in phase 2 will only incorporate the phonemes they are exposed to, and they build. The first book only uses the first 9 phonemes and one digraph. There's no tricky words in that first book. I've got the first book here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it very well. It is literally something on each page. And each of the words use only the sounds that they know. But it's that, going right back to the beginning, that left to right directionality, that, oh, it's a capital letter. We're exposing the children to all of these literacy skills that we want them to take from the book and write themselves. The book's removed. Right, sweetie pie, please write a pin. A pin. That's what I want you to write in your book. Let's sound talk and blend it. A pin. You do it. A pin. Brilliant. Write it down. And for some children, that's easy peasy. For some children, it's really hard. So in a couple of minutes, I'll go on to a little bit of pre-assessment that'll help you, hopefully, help you to select your first group. So just coming back to the progressive phonics order, there's 24 books in phase 2. They only use the phonemes and digraphs and the high frequency words that are taught in phase 2. There are some additional double letter sounds there. There's they build on the children's knowledge step by step, that there's not overexposure, too many words, too much for them to retain and remember. And all the books within the scheme are designed to support all of the children's literacy skills in both reading and writing. We want them to get that early learning goal, but we also want them to be confident and resilient. If they've not quite read it right, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. They've not written it right, it's okay. Let's try again. Again, those resilience skills, if we embed them early and support the children from the start, it makes those little errors that happen in life so much easier. So that's a little bit about the phonics order. So before you start the scheme, I know we're all knee-deep in baselines at the moment, and we're trying to find out who knows the colours, who knows the shapes, who can count, who you can chat with and have a conversation. Those skills, we need all of that information. With Making Your Mark, you also need to know a child's literacy skills. You need to know what their starting point is. And it's not just what sounds do they know. Yeah, that's really, really important. So, you know, what can they recognise? What can they name? Oh, well done, it's an app. I show my children 3 or 4, 5 or 6, and I ask them to point to, put your finger on the t sound. Put your finger on the s. Which letter says s? So I know who knows what. And I also ask my children then to write those digraphs. What do those GPCs look like? Because we can't expect children to be able to write at the get-go, right at the very beginning. They need exposure to writing and they need to practice. Making Your Mark supports that. When you've done a book and they've done a couple of sentences, if there's letters that are back to front, upside down, floating in the sky, not got a monkey tail, then it gives you the opportunity to support those skills too. But if you assess that at the beginning and you know what a child's aiming for, that's what you think an app looks like, brilliant, right, then you know, so that then you can support them a little bit more. I think that's a really, really important assessment. In the pack, there is a little bit about it. Just a quick explanation. And then there's an example of a record grid. But I know full well every setting will have their own way of doing this, and that may well be something that's consistently done from reception right through to year 6. It's just a guide. So long as you know what phonemes your child can recognise and what their GPCs look like, then it doesn't have to be this one. We're not saying that, but you do need to know who knows what before you start. Now, this is something, as a practitioner, I think is really, really valuable. For years, we've taken children, right, sweetie pie, come with me, we're going to do some writing. I want you to write. Oh, super. Where's your full stop, honey? Oh, you've forgotten your finger spaces. All the things that we kind of take for granted that we assume children know. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Lots of children these days, unfortunately, don't have exposure to books. You only have to walk around Tesco's and you see lots and lots of children sat in trolleys with iPads and phones. You go out to eat, children are sat looking at an iPad. We need to know if our children understand how a book works. Do they know when you say, please turn over, turn the page? Do they know what you mean? When you're saying to them, put your finger on the writing. No, sweetheart, please put your finger on the writing. Do they know that those symbols at the bottom of the page, that's writing? Do they know what a capital letter is? Have they had exposure to these literacy skills before? Now, if your reception class is predominantly made up of your children from your nursery, you will have a better idea of what they've been exposed to and what skills they've got, and you'll be able to converse with your nursery staff. But if you've got several children coming in from outside, then you've no idea, you won't know. So this assessment just helps you to understand what literacy skills, what literacy terminology a child has got. Knowing what they understand beforehand, I think, is crucial, because then when you're supporting them, you can remind them. And this is where having a whiteboard and a pen is invaluable. I always do my sessions with the flashcard of a new sound or a flashcard of a new word that they've been exposed to recently that's in the book that I want them to remember. And I always try and remind myself beforehand of which literacy skills some of my children are struggling with. I think by doing those 2 assessments first, you're setting your stall out, you know who's ready, who's going to be able to cope with this. We want our children to gain knowledge quickly. We don't want to intimidate them. We don't want to put them off. I think, unfortunately, sometimes when children have really poor experiences of academic life, it can really taint it for a while for them. So look carefully at how you select that first group. It's not something I usually advocate, but because I want all our children to do well and I want all our children to succeed. But and this will help them, if you select your most able children first and get them moving, get them going. To start with, they'll probably need 20, 25 minutes to read the book with you, sound talking and blending, looking at all those literacy skills. Oh, put your finger on the first word. Super. Oh, what's that spot thing at the end called? Oh, yeah, it's a full stop. Well done. Brilliant. Then they write it in the book. You might try another sentence. Then they'd have a go at maybe drawing the picture to go with it if they choose. It's not something I encourage my children to do it, but I don't make them. The whole point of this is it's a writing scheme. You're going to write. But if they want to draw, because again, it's going to support all those fine motor skills, they draw the picture that goes with it. Hopefully, in time, then that first group, given a couple of weeks, because they're already very skilled children, will start to move faster. So that 20-25 minutes will reduce to a 15-minute session, which enables you then as a practitioner to fit in another group, hopefully. That second group will need more of your time, but because you're aware of what skills they've got, what skills they're lacking, you've been able to put some scaffolds in there beforehand. Again, get them going, couple of weeks, hopefully the time that they require will reduce. Not last year, the year before when I was doing this in reception, between 2 reception classes, I did 6 groups in a morning. I had some from one class, then I had another group from the other reception class, and then I had some groups that were a mixture of children from both classes because they married up best. They made the best group. But I'm sure at settings you will organise that as you need to. But the groups are designed to be fluid. I don't think if a child is struggling that they have to stay in that group. If they're struggling, but you've got your second group going and a couple of weeks of repetition, I'll support the confidence, which is fragile, and those skills that we really need, then I think manoeuvre your children. If you've got a child who's doing really well, a couple of sessions to quickly expose them to what they need and move them on. Evaluate what's working best for you. And if you think, oh, we're doing really well here, I don't think we need to do book 4, then miss it out and go straight on to book 5. Your evaluation is so important, and you decide, right, we need to do that book next. Oh, we've just done that phoneme and it's a bit tricky. We're going to look at that book again. Evaluates what's best for you, best for your setting. And ultimately, please bear in mind that children will learn at their own pace. What a Making Your Mark book looks like, and why. As I said right at the very beginning, there's some beautiful books out there, absolutely stunning. But they gave me a migraine looking at some of them. It's like, whoa, what am I looking at here? There's so much information. And some of them were the beautiful illustrations, but on the page it just said one CVC word, Pam, dog. That's great for encouraging the children to sound, talk and blend what they can read, but it doesn't encourage their writing. So the books, they're all designed. I'll quickly show you another book. This is a quick glance at book 3. All of the first phase 2 books, I've got a picture page when you open them up. This was my nod to aspect 7, phase 1, aspect 7. And this was something I used to do with my children who were a little bit not quite ready for the group time to start. I'd get them to open the book, look at the first page. Right, please put your finger on the og, just to give them that moment or two to tune into what we were doing, so that they were ready to learn. Each page has got 5 or 6 little illustrations, and then there is just the one very plain illustration and the sentence. This is the book. So on each page it's the and then a CVC word, and it builds. So we've then got the CVC and the. So the children are exposed to the word the in 2 ways, with a capital and with a lowercase. Again, we're coming full circle to that pre-scheme assessment, those concepts of print. Do the children know the difference between a capital letter and a lowercase letter? Skills that they need and skills that will help them acquire the goal. As you can see on this page, there is just the 2 illustrations. The pig's not doing anything, Dad's not doing anything. We're not getting sucked into, oh, the pig's rolling in the mud and why has he done that? I want you to read this, and then I want you to write that. Let's read that sentence again. Hold that sentence. We're going to write that in your book. The books don't tell story. Your comprehension comes in your guided reading sessions, comes in your English, your story at home time in those sessions. The books, the sentences, they're for the children to read, they're all phonetically plausible, and they're for them to write. This is not a comprehension exercise. This is not something that will aid your children to understand who, what, where, why questions. It is a reading and a writing task. As I said earlier, the books can stand alone, or you can follow the pattern. Book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4, it is a settings choice. They encourage only writing that is phonetically plausible. The goal asks for a sentence that is phonetically plausible and can be read by others. All of the sentences in Make Your Mark are all phonetically plausible. In phase 3 of Make Your Mark, it's the 11 digraphs, 3 trigraphs that they are exposed to in phase 3, and the tricky words, my, etc., that they're exposed to in phase 3. There's no other vocabulary there. We want our children to be able to write something that anybody can read. And again, that, oh, miss, say the nursery teacher walks into the classroom, they've had a really good bond with that person and they're delighted to show that person their work. How fantastic is it when a child's writing can be read by somebody else? It's a great big, well, I find it a real good buzz. I love it when my children can show somebody else their skills and how talented they are. But I also think for the children, it's such a lovely self-esteem boost, a real pat on the back when somebody has read what they've written. It's amazing. So that's what Making Your Mark is basically all about. I'll very quickly just show you a book that comes later on in the scheme. This is book 21, and this is the book. Now, as you can see on the back, we've got some words. So once you've read the book, you can have a look at the back, or you can start at the back and just do a quick, oh, who can read what, before you start your writing session. But then the books, even though this is a digraph book, it's the same format. It's consistent. The children feel confident and comfortable with what they're doing because they've done it before. Again, you've got your nod to aspect 7. Put your finger on the oh, super, well done. Oh, what's that a picture of? What's that? Oh, well done you, brilliant. I knew what you said then. Good job. Can anybody find a fab? And then again, the sentences all contain a word, but they don't contain anything else. So in the book, you won't find a word because that comes later. You won't find anything with the E digraph because that comes in phase 3. So that's just a quick glance at book 21. Okay. Right, well, thank you very much. Gosh, I've talked very, very quickly there, haven't I? Thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope it gives you a bit of an understanding of where your mark was coming from, what it's designed to do, and what its ultimate aim is. And it's giving you a little bit of a taste of what the books are about and how they function.